I promise I'm not in my pyjamas, I've just put my dressing gown on because it's comfy and it's cold. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. Today I thought I'd talk to you guys about testosterone and the different routes that you can take in order to get it, and then I'll do a separate video on my thoughts of getting testosterone, so yay. So I don't know about in other countries, I'm just going to talk about testosterone in this country, which is the UK, because that's all that I know about basically. So in the UK there are two main paths to take in order to get testosterone. The first one is NHS. Now I absolutely love the NHS, I've had multiple surgeries done on the NHS and I don't know what I'd do without them. But the only thing with the NHS, particularly when it comes to like mental health and the transgender side of things, is that it's terribly underfunded, which means that there are very long waiting lists. The average waiting list for testosterone on the NHS is around 4 to 5 years, and that's just to be seen, just to be referred to a gender clinic. So basically you just go to your GP and you're like, I'm trans, I'd like to be referred to a gender clinic, which is usually in London, particularly when you're under 18. When you're under 18, the only gender clinic in the country is STALK, which is in London, and then there are some others for over 18s, mainly based in London, which obviously, depending on where you live, depends on how much of a trek that is. And then they refer you, and then you get seen by a psychiatrist who diagnoses you with gender dysphoria, and then from there you go on a waiting list for testosterone or for hormone or for top surgery or whatever you proceed to do, and that is at no extra charge. Obviously it's not free because taxes and all that, but I don't want to get into that. The other option is through privately. So with privately, it obviously costs, I think an initial appointment with a psychiatrist is around £300, depending on where you go. Different companies have different fees. Some have like a monthly subscription you have to pay, some don't. So basically you go onto their website. One that I'd highly recommend is Gender Care, which again, they're based in London, but they do have some clinicians based all over the country. But their main one is in London. And you go onto their website, you have a look at all the different clinicians or endocrinologists or whoever you want to go and see, and you email them and they send you some forms to sign and you sign them, and then they book an appointment for you. Obviously you don't need to pay, but the waiting list for that is around 5 months, between 6 to 12 months usually. So I booked an appointment 2 weeks ago and I've got one for May and it's now November. So May 2022 and it's now November 2021, so it's just over 6 months. So it's better than 5 years, but obviously it's not like next week. And then you also need to book an appointment with an endocrinologist, and that will obviously cost extra. And so yeah, and then if you want to go the full Monty, then obviously it will cost even more for like private testosterone, which is around £75 a month for your prescription, depending on, obviously that depends on whether you go on gel or shots or whatever you choose to do. But there is a third option. Which is called shared care. Now shared care is probably the most common route, I'd say. Shared care is basically where initially you go private, so you pay for your initial appointment with a psychiatrist and an endocrinologist, which is what you need baseline to get testosterone, regardless of where you go. And then they pass, once you've got testosterone, they then technically pass your care into the NHS, although legally they're working in conjunction with your GP. So you pay NHS prices for your prescription and you get your blood test done on the NHS, because when you're on testosterone you need regular blood tests. And any appointments that you need with your clinician, obviously you'll pay for and everything, but usually people don't. And so it's a lot cheaper and affordable way. You're still on the private waiting list and you still pay privately, but at the same time, the long term of it, you don't have to pay for like private prescriptions, things like that. The only thing with shared care is that you do need to get your GP's consent, or approval is probably the better word for it, before you start, because although 95% of GPs are totally fine with it, there are some that do not want to take on the responsibility of it. So it is always good to check with your GP before you start hormones, before you go to any appointments. Even if your friend who has the same GP as you got shared care with them, it's always good to check first. So that's what I'm doing. I've got an appointment booked for next Friday to talk to my GP about shared care, any of my concerns, any of their concerns, and see if they'll do it. I'm sure that they will, because like I said, my friend has done it, but it's always better to check first of all. So you phone up and you make an appointment with your GP in the same way that you would if you had any other ailment, and then you can go forth. And yeah, some GPs like to write letters to your private company, just to check and to confirm and everything. So it really depends on the GP. I obviously can't talk for nationwide, so it's always good to talk with both your clinician and your GP. So yeah, another thing I would say about starting testosterone is there are a lot of forms for you to sign. So there's like GDPR ones, there's consent forms, and then there's also ones that they ask you about how far you are in your social transition and how far you are in your physical transition, and also your mental health. And basically your clinician, this goes for NHS and private, and I thought I'd just tell you this just in case. They look at your file and they either accept your case and take on your case, and obviously work with you in order for you to receive your care, or they can say no. And this is just something to bear in mind. It's very unlikely, but they can deny you on basis of you're not far enough in your transition. It also gets a bit grey area when it comes to like non-binary people. Obviously, there's no discrimination, things like that, but that's just what I've read, and with mental health as well. So they can deny you care on the basis of your mental health being too unstable, or your medication and things like that. So that is something to bear in mind when you go forward and get testosterone. I'm not trying to put you off, I'm just trying to prepare you, because that was quite a shock when I got the forms and they were asking me about myself, my history of self-harm, my history of suicidality, and I was like, fuck. So that is something very important to bear in mind. But apart from that, I will put below any links that I recommend. So, sorry about that. I'll put below any links I recommend. And yeah, I shall see you in my next video. Sorry I didn't have a video last week, but I will hopefully continue to make videos. See you next week.